They show you one list and tell you these are the families that rule the world. Rothschild, Rockefeller, DuPont, Bundy, Collins, Kennedy, Onassis, Reynolds, Russell, Van Deurne, Astor, Freeman, Lee. These are the visible banking dynasties and industrial bloodlines of the last few centuries. The ones who fund wars on both sides, own the central banks, control the corporations, and sit in the boardrooms the cameras are allowed to see. But behind them sits an older, quieter, far more ancient network that most people have never heard of. The real 13 families, the ones who have been steering power for 1,000 years and more, are names that rarely appear in the spotlight. Borgia, Breakspear, Orsini, Colonna, Conti, Chigi, Farnese, Gaetani, Medici, Pamphili, Este, Aldobrandini and Somaglia. These are the old Black Nobility lines of Rome and Europe. Families that have sat at the heart of the Vatican, the Holy Roman Empire, and the secret societies that actually moved the chess pieces across centuries. They didn't rise with modern banking. They were already ancient when the Rothschilds were still money changers in Frankfurt. The Rothschilds are real, their red shield symbol is real, their banking empire is real. But they were never the apex. They were extremely skilled financiers who were allowed to climb high because they served older interests. They married into nobility, funded both sides of wars, and became the visible face of a much older system. The name itself comes from the red shield hanging outside Mayor Amschel Rothschild's house in Frankfurt. Rothschild. That shield was never just a sign. It was a declaration of an ancient bloodline that understood the power of symbols. These older Black Nobility lines trace their influence back through the Vatican, through the Holy Roman Empire, through the merchant banking families of Venice and Genoa, and further still into the shadows of ancient blood rituals and soul contracts that predate even Babylon. They understand something the modern world has been trained to forget. Blood carries memory, frequency, and binding agreements across generations. This is why the same surnames keep appearing in the highest levels of power, finance, and religion for hundreds of years. Not coincidence, not merit, blood. The public list is the theatre, the hidden list is the architecture. These families don't need to sit on thrones. They own the people who sit on thrones. They have been intertwined with papal power, nobility, and esoteric traditions for centuries. The Borgia and Medici are famously associated with ruthless power plays, poison, and occult practices. The Orsini, Colonna, Farnese, and Aldobrandini have maintained control through marriage, ritual, and symbolism across generations. They protect their lines ruthlessly. This is the real game. Power has always been held by a small number of interconnected bloodlines who understand that blood is more than just DNA. It is memory, frequency, and contracts. They use marriage, ritual, and ancient seals to maintain control across centuries. The visible 13 families are the modern front. The older European and Roman lines are the hidden foundation, and the game has always been the same. Maintain the illusion of choice while keeping the real bloodlines in control. The shield was always red. The game was always blood, and the ones who actually rule never needed the public to know their names. They don't sit on thrones. They own the people who sit on thrones. They have been playing this game since long before the Rothschilds ever existed. The real power has never been about money alone. It has always been about blood, memory, and the hidden contracts that bind generations. This is why the same surnames keep appearing in the highest levels of power, finance, and religion for hundreds of years. Not coincidence, not merit, blood. The public list is the theatre. The hidden list is the architecture. And the game has always been the same. Maintain the illusion of choice while keeping the real bloodlines in control. The shield was always red. The game was always blood. The Black Nobility, the old Roman and Italian aristocratic bloodlines like Orsini, Colonna, Farnese, Aldobrandini, Chigi, Gaetani, and Breakspear never ruled from the front. They ruled from the shadows of the Vatican and the hidden chambers beneath the old palaces. Their power was never about money alone. It was about blood, contracts, and energy. Their rituals were not the theatrical Satanism you see in Hollywood. They were precise, generational workings designed to bind bloodlines, harvest loot, and maintain control across centuries. These families understood that the soul carries memory and frequency. By performing specific rites at certain astronomical alignments, they could anchor power, reinforce soul contracts, and feed on the collective energy of the masses. One of the core practices was blood-binding rituals. At key points in the lunar cycle or during major planetary alignments, selected members of the family would participate in ceremonies where blood was drawn, mixed with specific alchemical substances and offered in a geometric pattern. The goal was to reinforce the family's claim over certain energetic territories and to bind younger generations into the lineage's contracts. This wasn't symbolic, it was functional. They believed the blood carried the family's accumulated power and memory, and by ritually reinforcing it, they prevented dilution or rebellion from within the bloodline. Another layer involved soul transference and walk-in protocols. Certain families maintained knowledge of how to move consciousness between bodies. When a powerful member grew old or faced death, rituals were performed to prepare a younger vessel, often a carefully selected child from within the extended bloodline. This allowed the same intelligence to continue operating across generations without losing accumulated knowledge or power. The public sees it as dynastic succession. The inner circles knew it was something far more deliberate. They also practiced energy harvesting through architecture. Many of their palaces and churches were built as giant resonators. The domes, obelisks, and geometric layouts weren't just aesthetic. They were designed to capture and direct human emotional energy, especially fear, worship, and sexual energy, into specific ley line nodes. During major rituals, the family would gather while the masses were directed into states of heightened emotion, wars, religious ceremonies, public spectacles. The architecture did the rest. The most guarded rituals involved dealings with non-human intelligences. The Black Nobility were not the originators of these pacts, but they became the primary human custodians on this side of the veil. They maintained contact through specific invocation methods passed down through blood and training. These workings were not about worshipping demons in the cartoon sense. They were strategic alliances for power, longevity, and control over the reincarnation grid. This is why these families have maintained influence for so long. They don't just play the game, they help write the rules of the game itself. The rituals were never meant to be public. They were performed in hidden chambers beneath the Vatican, in private estates, and in locations aligned with the old ley lines. The public sees the cathedrals and palaces. The real work happened in the shadows beneath them. This is the architecture behind the visible 13 families. The Rothschilds and Rockefellers may have been the bankers and industrialists of the modern era, but the Black Nobility provided the ancient template, the blood rituals, the soul contracts, the energetic architecture that keeps the wheel turning. The shield was always red, the game was always blood, and the ones who actually rule never needed you to know their names. The rituals were never meant to be public. They were performed in hidden chambers beneath the Vatican, in private estates, and in locations aligned with the old ley lines. The public sees the cathedrals and palaces. The real work happened in the shadows beneath them. This is the architecture behind the visible 13 families. The Rothschilds and Rockefellers may have been the bankers and industrialists of the modern era, but the Black Nobility provided the ancient template, the blood rituals, the soul contracts, the energetic architecture that keeps the wheel turning. The shield was always red, the game was always blood, and the ones who actually rule, they don't sit on thrones. They own the people who sit on thrones. They don't need your permission. They only need your ignorance. And for centuries they've had it, until now.